have reached a point to which all in history will be watching this, at least those interested within League Zero, because we are here with the quarterfinals, or semifinals better yet, because it's Fortunate Sons versus Rio Redemption in the Novice Division, trying to see who will finally reach the end and face Wisdom Academy, because I am username_Intel here, joined by Corbs, and we are here looking for such an amazing game, and honestly, I just want to get a quick idea of your predictions and ideas for this game.
Well, honestly, both teams have been pretty...
Son, are you winning? Are you winning?
What?
Oh, you're not playing?
Yeah. Kind of on cams right now?
Are you on camera?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. Right.
Okay. Okay, well... Let's... Okay, long story... Okay, sorry about that, but anyways, yeah, well, going over, so both teams, in my opinion, have been, they've definitely have been up and down. Like Rio, in my opinion, has just been trending downward, but Fortunate Sons, especially with their new pickups, have been going upward. Like Valhalla and Vespi King have been phenomenal, and same with Velocity. Velocity on the loose, like on the Brig especially, like his Brig is really, really good. Emily has improved tremendously as well. So, and that's, in my opinion, that's allowing Red Knight just to be able to do his thing now. Like now they have a team built around him, and this is where Fortunate Sons is very, very scary. However, Rio, they've been consistent all year. They did sub out Senile Apple for Trigger Happy, and yeah, this is gonna be definitely a it's definitely gonna be a good game. Even though, yes, if you did watch Countdown, I did predict Rio 3-0. I think it's gonna be a closer 3-0 than what people expect normally.
Quite possibly. Honestly, when it comes to this map, especially starting out on Nepal, which was Rio Redemption's choice, I'm more of a fan of the Fortunate Sons. They have been showing to kind of have that potential, especially beating out Geometric. So when my vote comes in, I do love me some Fortunate Sons, and I love the underdog story. I'm going to be giving it to Fortunate Sons at least in a game 5, because no way is Rio going to be trying to do this, trying to be giving this up at all.
Yeah, honestly, Rio will never be given. Rio is definitely going to be like on their last op. Like they are not gonna. They're gonna try to just absolutely dominate this game, so that way they can just focus on the finals. Also, do keep in mind we still have our charity going on for Women in Gaming International. You know I've already donated. But if we are at $300 even right now, we just need 200 more in order to get memes back. So if y'all have an extra penny to spare, please do it. We will greatly appreciate it. And both teams are running a standard brawl comp, and they have the Sim May, so the mobility is going to be a lot higher with both these teams here. And yeah, it's going to be definitely it's definitely going to be a fun game to watch. Let's see both these teams, how they roll out. And yeah, they're just taking the TP early.
Both of them wanting to run out on that brawl. It's up for the initial May wall to be able to see who can take the first fight.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, very early wall does catch out Gordo a bit, but Lamp is there to save him. And Polar does go down though. That's a lot of damage coming out from Valerie. And
yeah, look at them already pushing in. Red Knight is going to be taking in that advantage. Also, I forgot I was probably play-by-play today, because we see them push in, and it seems that Rio Redemption just didn't get that Maywall or the picks that they wanted to be able to push forward.
Yeah, honestly, the thing is that Valhalla got his charge so quick. However, if you look at Polar, they're literally dead even on ultimate charge, and Triggered's going to have his window well before Emily. So that's going to be a huge advantage going into this next fight. Here comes the TP, so they do have the TP just going over to the high ground. If Rio does decide to push, they can just immediately go over. And Rio takes this high ground positioning, which very smart, but it does expose their backline a little bit.
Yeah, look at them. They're split. Trigger Happy has to use that window just to help push in that damage. And it looks like to be in their favor. Red Knight gets that shatter. But while it was somewhat big, it was small in the aspect of value.
Yeah, this is definitely a pretty, like, Rio's just looking like more aggressive, and Vespi does get staggered there towards the end, so they will have to wait that'll get them a few more percent. Now the big advantage for Fortunate Sons is that they do have that window to work with, but they will have to go into RQT's Blizzard, which is relatively rough considering that Blizzard is arguably one of the best ultimates in the game.
Arguably, more correctly, that Blizzard is so strong, but that TP is behind the force them the bait. Wow. They managed to find out Polar, and that window is gonna allow them to move forward, especially with this wall directly in the middle of the point that gives them so much room to play. Both of the Blizzard. Yeah, TIE Fighter's going to be able to eat out that Blizzard as we see them continuously moving forward. They're trying to use the Diva Bombs just to be able to make some room, but the charge is high on the side of Valhalla. They're putting pressure onto Gordo's shield, and it looks like he's not going to be able to live for too much longer. Red Knight's style of just hitting W is going to be very effective at the moment.
Yeah, Red Knight was just able to go in there and just swing while the Valhalla was using that beam just to burn down the shield super quick, and that puts a ton of pressure on Gordo. And now Red Knight has his shatter after just going in there and swinging. They also do have a beat too, so they can definitely save him if he does decide to go a little bit too aggro. Polar does have a sim wall, which is unironically one of the best ultimates in the game, because splitting off the because having a 5,000 HP shield on your team is definitely huge.
Yeah, look at them pushing in with the Sound Bearer. That window and Sim turrets are a big pressure, especially with Red Knight getting the immortality. He doesn't have much healing, and yet Gordo is the first one found out.
Huge
combined with the Shatter, they're going to be able to find out 5 and continue pushing forward. However, that window comes out a little too late to be able to help out Red Knight. Emily is in favor as they pick off Sugar Happy, but Polar is able to find out Valhalla, and it looks like neither of these teams are going to be able to start pushing in first, and yet we see Rio dangerously low. Gordo is coming back with that Shatter to be able to help push forward. It's going to pop down and hit the last people who's on the point, but the window's there. Combined with the Diva Bomb, they have to leave that point. We do see the main tank, Red Knight, return back just to stall this point out, hopefully trying to win it back, but the main tank and the rest of Rio Redemption are still very much alive, and with that teleporter, Red Knight can only really get Trigger Happy before losing this fight.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great stall coming out from Fortunate Sons. They pretty much got to 99, and it really only costed them a wall and a bomb. The good news is they also, unlike Rio, they do have that Blizzard. However, it is probably going to be last fight territory here, as Rio is approaching the 80s in their percentage here, and they do have 3 ultimates as well to work with. So I could see this round going in favor of Rio.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, but however, it's how they try to engage with it. Those ultimates can be canceled out so quickly. Look at that, managing the bait, but they use that wall perfectly to split. The Blizzard lands down and the immortality is gone. We see that bomb in the middle of the point, and yet the entirety of Rio Redemption have started to be taken out. They do manage to find out Red Knight and Emily, so it's a little bit harder for them to try to win out of this push, and yet they still have the advantage. The last people on there, but the teleporter's still up for them to be able to come back.
They're turning
able
it.
to find out T for a Fu while Valhalla goes down. Vespi King Shuri manages to find and get the back cap, but guess who's come down? TIE Fighter with the buffs. They still haven't taken out that teleporter, so the respawns are in favor of Rio Redemption as the immortality goes down, and they're just able to get it. That Shatter's gonna be blocked, so there's no opportunity for them to be able to push forward as we see that uppercut, making sure that Red Knight and Velocity aren't gonna be able to stall this out for much longer. Even with Emily gone, we're gonna be seeing Rio Redemption manage to take the first point of Nepal.
Yeah, interestingly enough, like, They just lost target focus there. Fortunate Sons, I guess since Red Knight went down, it's like no one on the team is able to target focus, and that's really what it came down to. If they were to kill, in my opinion, if they were to kill a lot, or if they were to kill Rio's players a little bit sooner, like maybe 1 by 1 rather than everyone just split focus, then that would have definitely gone differently. Fortunate Sons could have had that point, but because of everything that happened, like where they were just super split on target focus, that allowed Rio just to get their staggers to come back, and both tanks were able to touch the point as well, and that's really what won in the fight towards the end there.
Definitely agree, especially at teleporter. However, these are two different compositions. We have the Goth dive, but they're pushing in. They're already trying to make some value by taking out the RQT's turret, but they flushed Red Knight incredibly early, just was not able to give him the enough resources to be able to survive. They do get some boosts in, but it looks like Fortunate Sons aren't really going to be able to push in. They do manage to find out Sam Knight, but he's not the big threat there. Polar does manage to find Tfue, but Gordo's the true threat. That hammer is so powerful against this comp.
Yeah, Gordo's just swinging through that team like a knife through butter, and that's really been pretty much their win condition. Look at Polar's ult charge. He already has that dragon built up pretty much. Just a couple more well-placed shots, and he already has it. And it's going to be a pretty big uphill battle for Fortunate Sons, because with Red Knight going down early there, he won't be able to farm his Primal until arguably late into this next fight. So definitely do be on the lookout for that. That's probably the best win condition for Fortunate Sons right now. Get that Primal, or maybe even get a Coalescence to help split up Rio.
Oh no, Red Knight messed us up the jump, and he falls down into the pit. That's a little bit embarrassing, and it gives room for Rio Redemption just to be able to move in, although I feel like Red Knight's going to need a little redemption from that.
Yeah, Rio is there. Honestly, they didn't really have to do too much to win that fight. Red Knight jumping off the map, that's kind of rough for Fortunate Sons. And that now they have a fat ult advantage. They're going to be popping the Molten Core early here, and
it does get canceled out while in midway. However, it's done its job. It stopped them from being able to push into the point and also helped them find out Tifer. They do want to push in now. Fortunate Sons need an opportunity in an advantage, but the Windows there pumping that damage, managing to go past and beyond. They are able to find the Shatter, and Red Knight's going to be going down. This is just a reset for Fortunate Sons.
Yeah, they have to reset quickly here. The good news is, though, they got 3 of Rio's ultimates out, and they are going to be approaching 2 ultimates of their own. Unfortunately, Emily does pop her Coalescence, so the sustain is not going to be there because Velocity probably won't be able to speed up until later in the fight. Good news is, though, they will be close to EMP and Blossom, which means they can definitely try and win this fight pretty early. Once they do get those.
But the issue is that the charge comes out, they find out Val, who is just coming up on their ultimate. Tifer's taken so long that the EMP is going to be going out now, and it's not really too big to be able to follow up on. They do manage to find out too, but Gordo and the turret are still alive. The sound barrier is there for the side of Fortunate Sons to try to push in further. They had the Diva Bomb trying to find out Gordo, who's stuck in the corner, and it seems at 99% that's the way they're going to be able to bring it back.
Yeah, but the bad news is for Fortunate Sons is they invested so much into that fight when they were desperate. And long story short, they pretty much used every single ultimate they had. Good news is at least they have Blossom and Coalescence, so that's decent. Speaking of which, here comes an early Coalescence, and
we're going to be seeing them push forward. The Death Blossom combined with the Coalescence, allowing them to move forward. This does give them more room, but those are 2 big ultimates used very early.
Yeah, but look at the ult economy on Rio. They have 4, probably 4 of the most or the best ultimates in their comp. Like they have Shatter, Bomb, Beat, Torble, and they can. And Fortunate Sons has nothing to counter unless they can play this perfectly. So they are taking a really aggressive fight, and the Shatter is massive. Like
the Sound Barrier being able to enable them to move forward, combined with RQT's Molten Core, this is basically going to start shutting down the rest of Fortunate Sons. It's just one big stall phase, or using their ultimates and try to bring it back. Val almost builds up that Death Blossom, but it's just not enough, and they don't really have anyone to be able to touch this point. Even with Red Knight primaling, this first map is immediately going to be going straight to Rio Redemption as they take the lead in Nepal.
Yeah, Rio just managed. They just managed their lives better, I guess you can say. So like rather than having all of them die at once, especially when it was 99%, they were able just to stay alive and stall out the point until their respawns came back. Nice shots coming out here from Polar. Little bit clutch. Let's see this final shot on the Diva here. Nice headshot, and yeah, that's what won on the point right there. So
Yeah, they're able to do their job. I think the main issue possibly is because Fortune Sons maybe don't scrim that map, but more importantly so, Real Redemption had an idea and they were clean with their execution. First map was all about target focus, and that's what cost down Fortunate Son. Continuing into the map when it came down to really just playing as a team and a compositional difference, they just suffered at it, especially the fact they just weren't able to build up ultimates to have some form of a comeback.
Yeah, Fortunate Sons just they weren't able to build ultimates on that comp, and that's pretty much what lost it in the long run for them. They eventually got their ultimates, but they got it really, really late, and it looks like we will be going to Eichenwald, so no King's Row in this game, unfortunately. But let's be honest, Eichenwald is still a fun map to watch. You can definitely see some unique comps like Farah Mercy, as well as like Torbjorn is actually pretty valuable here, and as well as Winston because of all the high ground and the second point there, and pretty much anyone who can access high ground is great on this map.
See, this is the difference between me and you, Corbs. You are sad it's gone. I am happy we try Eichenwald. It's very much a different map, and I don't
think... That's
think...
true, yeah.
And as much as I think Fortunate Sons is better and can dominate when it comes to that brawl, I feel they want to set themselves up for a better idea in how they want to be able to push in. They're having a more safer idea. Because what's scary about Real Redemption is TIE Fighter being able to eat up blizzards when you're playing the May. RQT can be sometimes consistent, sometimes inconsistent, and those are really the big points. While I think Fortunate Sons have a more all-around, they, especially with Val on their team, they can shut down any form of a Pharah. RQT is going to be having a lot of issue when trying to play against this if they choose those form of compositions. Yeah,
honestly, with the Pharah pick as well, it's Rio doesn't, or actually, yeah, Polar is actually great on the hit scan. But can they really shut down a Pharah Mercy, especially if Valerie plays a Pharah? Like they'll probably look great. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to run 6-man again, simply because Red Knight is more comfortable on Winston compared to his other main tanks, and also they need to play that comp a little bit slower because, in my opinion, they're playing a little bit too aggressive. They need to really use those cooldowns to disengage. Unless it's speed boost, then you're pretty much good. But even then, they have a ton of cooldowns just to be able to safely get out. And so for them using resources to get into the fight, that's a bit of the problem with that comp that they have been doing. So
I definitely agree. That is kind of the big issue in Shine, because a lot of those times Red Knight wasn't able to escape the fight and go back into the team. But I do get their idea with it. Red Knight's all about being able to push forward in. It's a big meme that everyone tries to joke on him for, but it's a good fundamental of the game that not every main tank understands.
Exactly. I mean, if you all are feeding as a team, then you're not feeding. That's kind of the philosophy there. So but if you are feeding by yourself, then you are feeding. So hopefully Fortunate Sons can come back from this, make it a pretty interesting game. I do like the Eichenwald pick as well. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how they will actually play this. We're just waiting for both teams to ready up. As you know, we're ready. We're just chilling here. So.
I like it too. I do know that Fortunate Sons aren't kind of favoring that double shield. I do believe that Red Knight and a couple of their players believe that is a very terrible composition to play, which is understandable, even if you're wrong all the time.
I mean, even though it's kind of the ranked meta right now, like double shield is back, unfortunately. So let's have another 8 months of watching Orisa go, and yeah.
You see, real gamers, true all-stars can understand why Double Shield is so impactful and why it's actually kind of fun to play. Sure, you're sitting down there, but it's about the individual aspects to be able to win that, especially when moving down onto first point of Eichenwald. Double Shield is so good at shutting it down because of rotations, angles, and just the long sight lines you have to take to be able to kind of move in. So while the brawl may be good, I more see dive being used as a kind of investment. However, Real Redemption, they're fairly smart. They're not stupid. They're going to be going out on that Double Shield with the possibly Pharah and Torbjorn and just poke the living, Satan out of daylight.
Poke the living Satan. Okay. Can someone, hey, real quick, someone in chat clip that because poking the living Satan out of someone is, yeah, that's a new thing we can do. Also, I like this comp that Fortunate Sons is running personally. The Mei is great for splitting off the team, especially if she can get a wall off to isolate the Winston. And let's say if Winston doesn't know about it and he just jumps into the wall, it's perfect. Also, what they can use is they can use it to separate the front line from the back line, especially if they get a good rotation in. And Valhalla on the Hanzo as well. That's their poke damage. That's gonna be tough for divers because divers don't want to take a ton of poke as they engage. They want full health as they jump into the fray, and it's definitely, and RQT already has a third of his health chunked off.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that RQT's running out on this Genji. It is kind of favorable, especially in this traditional dive, but Genji's not that powerful. We already see them just ignoring. They all get hit with an anti, but there's an immortality bailing them out, except Red Knight, and the rest of the team who just couldn't get any healing, and the rest of them are just kind of regretting that immediate engagement.
Yeah, despite dying first in the fight, Trigger Happy actually did the most for his team. That nade was absolutely massive, and now we're going to see a comp swap coming out from Fortunate Sons where they will be playing more traditional dive, which understandable because there's so much high ground. And honestly, that just despite going down first, he had a very heavy impact there. And yeah, they're just going to maintain this high ground presence, and it's going to be a little bit difficult for Rio to come in, especially with the Sombra. So if they do overstep their boundaries, they could get hacked and just focused. And interesting game of cat and mouse right here. They're trying to look for an engagement here.
They do kind of push up, and RQT does get hacked, so they decide they want to engage on it, take out the Genji, and that means you can push forward. The rest of the team are having an issue trying to play around this Sombra, as Tifa is just able to move in and hack and basically build up the EMP, and yet he's only sitting at 33%.
Yeah, the thing is, he's been shooting he was shooting squishier targets rather than tanks, and Red Knight's been doing most of the damage for that comp. He's already at 75% for his ultimate, and Valor gets dangerously low there. Luckily, he recalls out, and yeah, Red Knight's already 3/4 of the way to his primal raise. However, since Gordo was on the Winston sooner, they're gonna have a primal earlier, and then they can definitely just pop primal, win this fight. Maybe Polar can throw in a pulse bomb as well. And there you have one half a nano blade, and
yeah, look at that blade isn't going to be able to get too much. However, it does make some room. We see the Primal Rage come out, looking to even up this fight. And same with Vespi King's Bomb. It does go a little bit too high to be able to find anybody. However, it does give that remake the Pulse Bomb there. It hits Red Knight on the cheek. However, Gordo's just going to be able to come back and start picking off all the low targets.
Yeah, Red Knight's going to go down there late too. Vespi does get nanoed, however, he has to retreat here. If he gets caught without his mech on it, then that's going to be very devastating for the side of Fortunate Sons. However, since he did get back with like low HP, look at the support ultimates will go up greatly. Like they'll get an extra 20% because healing up a tank from full, especially after a losing fight, that's actually great. That's actually great team play there. Tifa already has his ultimate. Here comes a nano as well and a bomb.
Yep, they're pushing in. That bomb just barely able to hit out Emily, and it just seems that Rio Redemption are going to be able to take their engagement and move forward, while the rest of Fortunate Sons still need to find a way to have a clean engagement.
Yeah, and look at this. Red Knight does get back too, so they're gonna build up that ultimate once again. The good news is Velocity will have his yeah, so they will get the contest. Vespi does recontest. Here comes the EMP. That hits a lot of people. That's 5 right there. But Sam Knight gets a
but
rally
it's
off
not
on
going to be taking out that rally. We do see Val being able to take out the Brig, and they're going to be using their own rally to continue moving forward. Yet Ty is still there to be able to consistently stall them out. The Pulse Bomb does go flat, but they're being able to contest it. This point is in favor of Fortunate Sons as they have the respawn advantage, and it seems that they are wanting to reset.
Yeah, great job from Fortunate Sons there, especially with the stall. Vespi was able to get in, and then they just followed up with a massive EMP that really swung the fight in their favor. We won't see any trickery from the C9 as Vespi's just camping there for the time being. Good news is they do have nano for their next engage, so they can definitely use that to farm another primal or look for a Red Knight kill. There comes an early nano.
Yeah, but he
Knight's out in the
gets
open.
slept. He's not going to be able to push in. We see as Gordo's going to be taking a consistent amount of damage, and TIE Fighter's hacked, but Red Knight's going to be able to escape basically unharmed. Uses that primal range instantly enough just to be able to boop some people around, and Gordo's going to be mirroring the same, trying to take out those supports, but the Brig peel is a little bit there as they're eventually
C9.
going to be melted. The point is going to be stopped from being pushed as it almost goes into a back cap, and it forces the rest of Fortunate Sons to have to move back, and yet still the fight continues to engage because that pulse bomb's gonna hit the shield. Gordo's gonna get the nano, and he's just gonna continuously start pushing back in. That bomb's going to be trying to find out the support, and it's just a little too far out to be able to find much. They get that copy from RQT on the Diva Bomb, so they now have two in store, popping them at the same time. But both of them, RQT is the one who's gonna be able to get the value as it went a little high and was able to catch everyone's hairline clean off.
Yeah, it's looking like the Cold War if like everyone just launched their nukes up. And honestly, that was just honestly, if you were Fortunate Sons, like, what do you do? Because the entire map's basically a minefield, and no matter where you step, you're just gonna get blown up. They do pop the rally here just so that way Velocity can swap to Lucio here soon, and they're gonna EMP as well.
Yep, they're being able to push in to find Red Knight with Gordo, and they're going to continuously start moving forward. TIE Fighter is going to be stalled, but that was basically a self-sacrificial. Oh, it did help them get some momentum, but they can't stick onto that Sombra for too long.
Yeah, honestly, that was yeah, they got to swap off the Brig now. Will Velocity get back in time before there is another fight? I'll be honest with you, if Rio plays this quick, then they can definitely take this fight a 5v6. However, Velocity's able to get to the spawn. Knowing him on Lucio, he can just wall ride out in like 2 seconds. So there he is. He's already back in the fray.
Yep, he's going to be returning in, and we're going to be seeing them move in. That pulse bomb does fall flat. However, it makes the immortality come out a little early as Emily has to panic.
Oh,
but the shatter is massive. They're able to find out the Brig, and that's what they needed. The nano does hit RQT, who's coming up on the copy. That's absolutely massive because they're going to be able to pump in that damage as well as copy the Reinhardt. He is almost bursted down, and the rest of Fortunate Sons want to back up. They're giving them that respect. Gordo's going to pop that Primal and try and find a pick with it. Does manage to do so. The bomb does come out of spawn, but they're basically going to ignore it, and it only demets TIE Fighter. Yet the rest of Fortunate Sons are still struggling inside this immortality to be able to fight off. They do get Gordo and RQT before able to cap the point. This is an opportunity they've been looking for. The rest of Real Redemption just aren't going to be able to find out much as they're just fighting on the point. They're forcing themselves to stall. Polar does have the pulse bomb to try to be able to win it out, but they've lost their Brig and the remake. This is just an opportunity for them to try again.
Yeah, exactly. And Triggered. Oh, geez, TIE Fighter gets melted quick though. If TIE Fighter got out of there alive, where he's taking a little bit of poke damage, Trigger Happy could have definitely farmed up his nano, but he's probably gonna get it by next fight. Let's be honest. But even then, it's definitely gonna be. It definitely would have been nice to have a just in case. Good news, Red Knight already built up another shatter with all the damage he's done. He's just been swinging his hammers into the brawl, and Valhalla on the Cowboy character has been doing work as well. Nice heat from Vespi to deny that value from Polar. So,
yep, it's absolutely amazing, but the sound barrier has just negated the ante. Although TIE Fighter's bomb is behind, the shatter goes a little too high and it's a bit too predictable. They still are safe due to the immortality as the cap is there, and it does seem that the Brig is almost gonna get it. No, get it completely! Velocity doesn't touch fast enough, and that's a C9 for the embarrassment.
Yes, we got a bit of a Charlie Niner. I repeat, we got a Charlie Niner on Eichenwald. But yeah, that was that they needed to watch point there. I don't know why they played that aggressive. Yeah, Sam Knight was just, hey, let's just walk past everyone and literally just take the point. Like, if you watch the replay, you can literally see Sam Knight just walking past everyone just to go touch the point. That was, honestly, that's hilarious. Like, yeah,
I am too, because honestly, it's the job of the Lucio to be able to touch back. That's kind of why you play forward. You trust in Velocity to be able to go back, and it's not that big of an issue. Or really the Diva to be able to go. That's a little bit embarrassing, and it just hurts a tiny bit, but they're going to be having to get a time bank higher than at least 0 seconds, so they have a sizable win condition. Although we see RQT returning back onto the Torbjorn to be able to fight.
Yeah, honestly, Torbjorn is great, especially with the comp that, the comp that Fortunate Sons is running. Torbjorn can do a ton of poke damage, and that turret is going to be a constant threat of damage for pretty much everyone on the team. Like Tracer will have to commit a lot of resources in order to kill it, and the only person who can really kill it consistently is probably either Tifu or Emily. And this turret is just going to get a lot of work done. So, in my opinion, if they play around that, that's going to be the big win condition there.
Yeah, the dive does help, especially with Val and Tifa on such burst heroes. They can kind of shut it down very quickly. But they're still setting up for this engagement, and yet Gordo wants to be the kind of investor in this. They're forcing them to have to play back, and Red Knight's going to be using that jump, but immediately gets bursted down, not going to be able to escape. Similarly with Emily and Velocity, the rest of Fortunate Sons just don't have the room to play.
Yeah, honestly, if I were Fortunate Sons, I would just play around Nano. If you get Nano, then that'll allow Red Knight to do a lot more work. And once you get Nano, you can actually just do a hard commit. They were way too low to start that dive, and that's what really lost them the fight in that early stage. Good news is though, Emily is doing a great job farming Nano here. Red Knight engages a bit, but he's able to get out safely.
It's basically all you can do as the Ana. It's your job. The immortality does force some things out, and the turret's gone. But once again, Red Knight's going to be dying first, and the rest of their team are just fodder.
Exactly, and yeah, they're still trying to like poke out, but now Emily finally has the Nano, but that's after 2 fights. She definitely could have gotten a lot sooner. I'd say maybe within a minute. And Rio wouldn't have had ultimates as well, so. The problem is, Fortunate Sons is just playing way too aggressive for this comp without Nano, and here comes on the Red Knight.
Trying to push in, but that Nano really only gets so much value as they lose their support. Gordo getting a lot of value just by hitting W, and the Molten Core is just going to be melting everyone down. RQT being able to get that hammer kill.
Yeah, it looks like they will be swapping up the comp a bit. Velocity does make the swap over to the Lucio, and they're just going to ignore the Primal Rage altogether. Tifa is coming up on the duplicate, which 2 runs on the field is very, very scary, especially if you're the enemy team. So they just pretty much cost themselves a huge ultimate bank that they had. And the good news is Vespi will be close to his bomb and too. So
yep, we see that Dragon's trying to split them up. It's able to do a lot of damage to Val while the bomb goes on the other side and catches Val in the room. Red Knight also gets split up. They have no room to play as a team. Sure, that bomb is going to be blocked out by Gordo, but the rest of Fortunate Son, they just have to escape. They have no room, and Emily is now added to the list of hammer kills.
Yeah, poor Emily. Poor old Emily. RQT just, to be fair, a lot of people got killed by a hammer this game. However, this is Torbjorn's hammer, so it's a little bit different. And yeah, Valhalla is now on the Hanzo again, so they're trying to look for an early pick here, and this is the advantage about having a Hanzo compared to like a Reaper or McCree, is that you can get an early pick here and just win the fight early. Yeah, that wall just cucked him.
That bomb to try to push forward, but it's not going to be able to find mud. They now need a moment to move, but the Dragons forcefully split them up and peel in a slight bit of damage. Red Knight immediately is going to drop the shield and get shattered. That's just a bit unfortunate. And yet, Trigger Happy still decides to hit that side window.
Yeah, interesting. They were up. They pretty much won the fight. Gordo landed a big shatter onto Fortunate Sons, and surprisingly, they were still like, hey, let's commit more resources. And now that puts them in a bit of an ult disadvantage, because if you look at the ult economy on the side of Fortunate Sons, they're going to have Shatter and Dragons, and TIE Fighter can definitely farm up his bomb here next fight. Here comes the Dragons just to do a bit of separation.
Used just to split them up, but RQT's Molten Core is the one to look at. Finds out Emily. Red Knight finally gets the better of his counterpart, but the rest of his team is stuck having to move forward.
That's a huge
shatter helps them find the value. Red Knight's gone, but the DPS are there. The last person left is just a baby diva, and while she's scary to remake, she's not scary alone.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, Rio's just going to disengage from this. I wouldn't be surprised to see Fortunate Son swap to a more of a divey comp here. Emily's going to swap back to the BAP actually, and so they are gonna stay on this brawl comp. And honestly, I don't see why not. Here comes an early interesting Dragon from Polar, so they are taking this fight relatively early, but...
Yeah, but the remake is there, and they're being able to push forward. The respawns are in favor of Fortunate Sons, and it seems that they're still being able to get more value out of it. It's understandable to why they did it. However, it's a sacrificial pawn to just stall the card, as Gordo and Trigger Happy just need to try and escape, and yet Gordo just wants to reset.
Yeah, Gordo fortunately does build up his Shatter as well in that fight. However, they just fed so many ultimates for Fortunate Sons. Like they have a Blizzard, Dragon, Beat, Bomb, and Emily is probably going to farm up her window here in next fight. So it's a questionable decision. It's a Shatter, unfortunately.
Yep,
Actually,
that
Shatter
bomb
does
being
find
able to
Red
go
Knight,
high in the sky, it's way too far to help out. Yet the Blizzard has caught them all stuck in this small room. Their own aggression being punished, even if the McCree Polar is going to barely just win that 1v1.
Yeah, Emily does go down though, so Rio definitely does. They still are contesting the cart, and it's Sam Knight too. So Lucio's a little bit slippery, but they were able to just get rid of him relatively quickly. The good news is though, since they did get Red Knight super early, he doesn't have Shatter quite yet, and I can see Gordo potentially catching up to him. Valerie does have that Dragons, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was used to kind of. Oh, Tifa does go down early though, so they gotta rotate out.
Bit unfortunate. You need that May to be able to push, so they're gonna choose to just wait. They have Dragons in window, 2 big ults. However, RQT's Molten Core is terrifying.
Yeah, it's long story short, it's that Molten Core has won multiple fight. It's a great zoning ult, especially on this map as well. Like, let's say if they want to push high ground here, then it's gonna be a little bit difficult because here comes a dragon though, so that's definitely.
Yep, they are going to be able to try to push. They managed to find out RQT before the Molten Core comes, but they've lost Val in this scuffle. The Shatter's massive, being able to help them push. Unfortunately, it does seem that the only person going to be stalling is Sam Knight, but they can't focus him down. He's slippery hops, he's got the mops, and they're going to be able to push this payload, but there's still a recontest possible.
Yeah, Red Knight tries to go for a pin there to potentially pick off RQT. Polar does go down though, so they're going to be down too. And
too great. That Shatter and combined with the Molten Core is absolutely devastating. The Sound Barrier ensures that they're going to be staying alive for a lot longer. This is all up for not only the Sound Barrier but the Diva Bomb to help. Finds out Trigger Happy. Gordo coming back into the fight, but it's immediately going to be shut down. Rio Redemption are in a mess. Their strategy left in scrambles, and they're not going to stop this push.
Yeah, but if you're Rio, you're super happy about that fight, even though yes you did lose it, and now you have to play another point. Rio is that's actually a huge stagger coming out from Valhalla, so that's probably going to give him 2 corners in this final point. But Rio forced out a ton of ultimates from Fortunate Sons, so they kind of have the ultimate economy reset. However, Tifa does have the Blizzard, so. And here it comes, and it does catch out Gordo, though. That's going to be huge.
They're able to kind of get some value from it by finding out, but they trade in their tanks. That payload can move as far as they want, but without their tanks, they can't do much. They still have their Tracer in the backline, especially with the Pulse Bomb. Val's just doing his best. Able to get
Valerie.
2! We're going inside the spawn room, especially Sam Knight going down dangerously low and that D-Mech on TIE Fighter. This is just what they needed, the stagger pushes.
Yeah, Sam Knight doing a great job recontesting this point as well. That's going to allow him to, at worst, just go for like a second push, or like at 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Huge Shatter doesn't find anything but the C9.
They don't have the opportunity to touch, and that's what you're looking for from Fortunate Sons. Being able to catch it with 1 minute and 23 seconds. That's very big, especially when Rio Redemption only have a minute themselves.
Yeah, the fact that they have an extra 23 seconds. If they full hold Rio here, that extra 23 seconds is going to be huge. That's another fight right there. And honestly, Rio, if Rio has this long stalled out fight for a minute and they can't cap first, it's going to be really, really rough for Rio to actually walk away with this map win. The good news is though, so they will be rocking the Farah Mercy, and this is probably one of Farah's better maps because of all the cover that she can weave behind. Like, there are plenty of houses and plenty of there's this big tower in the middle as well that Farah can just use as natural cover and just really poke out rockets before she actually truly engages. And they will be rocking the standard dive trio standard dive quadrant of Tracer, Monkey, Diva, and Anna. So they still do have that alternate win condition if the Pharah pick doesn't necessarily do too much.
Yeah, especially with how Fortunate Sons played originally, this is a scary scenario. The Pharah's going to be able to get a lot of burst damage, so they need a good kind of moment to push in. Luckily, though, Vespi King is on that Diva, and they are just deciding to push forward, ignore the Pharah, and go after the Monkey. Yet they're able to slightly escape and force out the Immortalities.
Wow.
Valhalla
Nice
is going to be the savior, finding out Polar and forcing this into a reset of 30 seconds.
Yeah, now they only have one true push. Fortunate Sons played that perfectly. They understand it. They understood what they needed to do, and they were able to demech TIE Fighter as well. And it's gonna be a little bit rough. And it looks they are playing aggressive once again, but RQT finds 2.
It's what the Pharah's meant for. The rest of them are stuck, and Emily is slept, and yet Val's going to help push it in. The Immortality is going to be allowing Emily to live for a tiny bit longer and enable Val, while the Diva's still on the point, but they're at a disadvantage. That Pharah has Barrage and is going to help find out the baby Diva. They want to give a second for Vespi to try to remech, but they come back a little too fast, and they have ultimates for the next fight.
Yeah, this is going to be really tough for Fortunate Sons because remember, especially with overtime, your respawns are going to be super staggered, and so, yeah, that's actually a huge barrage coming out from RQT. The fact that he got 3 right there is that's gonna probably allow him to push two corners on this final point. And look at this, they're still going in.
Yeah, they just really want to take that space to be able to move forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so they're definitely gonna get 2 corners here, and the good news is for Fortunate Sons, all your players have respawned, so they can definitely push into this. Probably put a window on the high ground here, so that way that'll be super threatening for RQT to not really peek out in space too much.
Yep, they try to make some room, and Gordo does get stuck on the high ground. The high noons popped out, but the Primal Rage combined with the Nano does a lot of damage. It does seem they almost take Gordo out, but he's just barely going to be able to survive. Just like his namesake, he is not going to be able to survive. Don't know what that means, but let's continue on as we see them fighting on to the point. The Valkyrie is used to try to enable them. However, we see a split. Red Knight coming from Dirty Dance or something, using that Shatter to be able to not only find out Trigger, but the Tracer.
That's huge.
Pharah is in the sky with the barrage, but the bomb's coming down. Emily was sacrificed in the end, but the bomb is what they needed to help secure. Sure, Trigger is losing sure, Ty is losing their mech, but Gordo comes back on with the Wrecking Ball. However, the target focus is absolutely insane, and there's only so much a Wrecking Ball can do alone.
That is very true. Wrecking Ball does become super vulnerable, especially without shields and in a last-minute stall situation. But if you're real, I'd be very happy with that push because you were able to cap first point from them, and also you were able to get about halfway through second. So, and they will have the high ground to work with as well, and that'll be a huge advantage. And so if Fortunate Sons has an attack like they did the first time, where they just really, I guess you can say, fed. That's gonna be really rough for them to actually build up their advantage, and so they need to farm. They need to play around Nano if they are actually. Never mind, they're actually just gonna run the brawl comp, and they will be keeping RQT on the Pharah, and so this is interesting decision because Ryan without a Lucio is kind of a throw pick unless you're a Gator or Super and so it's what they run when they're panicking. RQT is very well known on to play the Pharah, but it's really kind of just the one trick. They're doing pretty well, and we need to play around it. I do think going on to the Sigma is an interesting pick, not the best. However, they have more room to play more aggressive, but with a minute and 23 seconds, can they make it? Also, quick little shout out to T42's mom, who is in the chat watching the game. Your son is doing great things here for his team, so
he speaks Portuguese.
Shout out to you.
He doesn't know what we're saying. She speaks Portuguese. As the fight begins, they are going to get a really good Maywall. The Immortality just barely going to save Gordo, but he gets LOS. RQT is in the air, but their entire point of playing this comp is just to ignore. Don't even pay attention to the Pharah and go after the Diva and Mercy, who are just free targets to be able to put pressure on. We even see RQT just trying to do as much as he can to stall this out, but it's only a one-fight territory for them.
RQT already has his barrage? Gee, okay, but like, that's insane. the fact that he's able to barrage so soon, Vespi does find Trigger Happy late, which honestly, it's a good pick. However, he's just gonna respawn. They're all gonna take high ground, and yeah, RQT having that barrage so early is phenomenal. So like, because honestly, if I were Fortunate Sons, I wouldn't really be expecting it. And yeah, so they will be giving up the high ground advantage. It's going to be very difficult to take the high ground, especially with the Reinhardt comp and a Sigma being your off tank. So, yeah, but they just gave up the high ground for free.
Barrage comes out, and it's going to get some good value. Managing to find out Emily. Now there's no immortality to be able to protect them. The Lucio's still alive, looking to find them out, while Sam flies a little bit too far. The Dragon splits, but they made a beautiful rotation and gets the high noon off. Gordo looking to do his best. He shatters thin air, and he's almost going to lose his life, but just barely managed to bring it out. He is still being able to pop out this window, and that window is going to go too far from Emily. The immortality is going to be able to peel them out, but RQT has returned with a vengeance, and it looks like Red Knight, the only king to be able to try to protect his crown, even with the blizzard and
huge
shatter
though
being there. They need to find things with it. The sound barrier comes in a little too late as they're just helping them push forward, but the Pharah is still inside their backline, uncontested, shooting out. Sure, you find out TIE Fighter, but this is still maybe 2 fights left alive. Even RQT being able to find out Red Knight uncontested. Gordo going inside the backline, being able to find out the Lucio with the charge. The Immortality now bailing in for the rest of the people as the Critical Focus wasn't able to find much. We do see Buller being able to find out Emily, and the rest of their team just not being able to focus and find any targets, as the rest of Rio Redemption just wait for this May. They're just gonna melt them down, and it seems that Rio Redemption looking to make a scene as they finish off and cap this Icon Vault, being able to take the lead and match point.
Yeah, Rio definitely. Yeah, Rio has been playing these maps like super close. Velocity does get to play a game on Lucio. Let's see what he does here. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a boop kill or just, he's probably just fragging out here. Yeah, the frog, rather than being called a frogger, he is a fragger here, and a nice little boop at the end just to get our TIE Fighter off the map. But yeah, if I were Fortunate Sons, I wouldn't be boomed here at all, because you are still playing this map really close, and you're playing a phenomenal team this close. Even though you're down 2-0, it's still very much reverse sweepable if you're Fortunate Sons. So Real has to keep their foot on the gas. There's no way they can let up, because if they do let up, then Fortunate Sons can very much overturn this game.
Yeah, but the issue is that Fortunate Sons are kind of playing a little poo-poo brain at times, and that's just a nicer way to say it, the little PG-13.
Yeah, and it's the thing is, the thing is, like, Red Knight's been playing really aggressive on this Winston, and it's as he's down his armor and down most of his resources. And Emily can't really peek out because there was a Hanzo that was shooting logs through the choke point. So, like, they need to farm nano, and honestly, that was one of the biggest factors that really contributed to their loss. So,
I think they could try and build nano, but that's not really a condition that you have to play when you're going down to 1 minute and 32 seconds. It was rather their focus fire started to break and really start deteriorating the more the Pharah played and the more they weren't able to be unionized. And that's an issue that we've seen have them, at least when they were going up against Geometric, and especially when Geometric themselves had, and that's how they lose. So when going into Watch Point Gibraltar, they have an opportunity to take a break. I think they should. They need a moment to breathe, especially going into a dive-heavy map.
Exactly, and maybe tell their coaches to try to actually play a little bit more together, because it feels like, again, Red Knight is not on the same page as his team, and this has been an issue that has been plaguing Fortunate Sons ever since week 1. But if Red Knight is soon on the same page as his team, or the team is on the same page as him, they can very much definitely reverse sweep this. Every single one of their players has had like their moments. They just need more of those moments in order to really come back into their own. Here.
I definitely agree. I will give a small shout out, or a big one, depending on how you choose it, to Gordo's mom, as they have requested, because apparently she's watching, understands English. So thank you for supporting your son while they play in this game. It's incredibly good so far. And for the rest of the viewers, I do want to give a little reminder. We are still doing those donations. So if you are interested, or you're just hearing about this right now, ! Donate, I believe. And, raising a bit more money, bring back the memes, and just have a bit more fun. Either way, I'm a little worried to see how Fortunate Sons try to take this back, especially with RQT being able to play such a variety of heroes.
Yeah, RQT has been a threat pretty much their entire time. Like, whether he's on the Pharah or any hit scan for that matter, too, it's like he can literally play anything and look like it's still a MVP candidate. It's basically Flood all over again, let's be honest. And so he's able just to pick up any hero super quick. And the heroes that he doesn't pick up, Polar is still phenomenal on them. Like, Polar is generally their hit scan player. But like he can also play many flex DPS characters too. So, and like Rio's DPS line is super flexible, and that's definitely gonna be their win condition going into this next map as well. And if Fortunate Sons can counter like Rio's adaptiveness, then Rio is screwed in my opinion.
Yeah. I can 100% see it. So make sure you stay tuned as we get everything set up and we prepare for this little break. Fortunate Sons versus Rio Redemption. Will they be able to bring it back? Stay tuned to find out. Returning.
And we're back.
Hitches, play-by-play shop. This is my job. And welcome back, because I'm gonna have to scold Corbs out as we go into Watch Point Gibraltar. Rio Redemption being in the lead 2-0. Only chance to be able to bring this back is a reverse sweep, and is it possible, Mr. Corbs?
All right. Honestly, I could very much see it if Fortunate Sons plays a little bit more tighter, I guess you can say, and a little more coordinated. They can very much just turn this into their favors, and into their favor, because they were playing this really, really close, and Rio is looking desperate for some of these maps wins as well, especially the last map where they whipped out a Farah Mercy just for RQT to carry. And so
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's where it becomes an issue. Kind of just being able to adapt. I don't think Rio are truly struggling as much as we think it is. It's rather Fortunate Sons having to play together and be able to kind of play as a team.
Yeah, honestly, Rio. Yeah, so they are doing the new standard strat where it's like they go to the TP across, and honestly, this is great because now you have your supports on the high ground, really able to try and find value here. Tifa is peppering them down a little bit, but he's not really getting too much done. He's only 16% to his ult right now. And
Definitely agree, especially with this kind of slow poke phase out there looking to take the advantage. They are going to start moving forward, and anti-hits on Gordo and Ty.
Gordo.
They aren't going to be able to escape, and yet Gordo, slippery slope, he's going to be able just to barely be able to escape his death.
yeah, Tifa got very, very low there, and it looks like they will be re-engaging onto the high ground. But Tifa does go down because he didn't have that translocator to escape, and yeah, it's definitely gonna be it's gonna be an uphill battle for Fortunate Sons going into this fight.
A bit of an issue for them. We see that engagement onto the high ground, the counter engagement, but they lose the bubble as they just want to be able to take out RQT and Gordo. And this is kind of the issue with having that Genji there, don't have the sustainer ability. However, Emily does get split off, and the Primal Rage is going to help push them off. Rio Redemption even invest the Nano just to make sure they can continue pushing this payload. There's really no one on the Fortunate Sons with true sustain. The Nano goes out onto Red Knight so he can try to find out the supports, but they're being able to break him away. But that EMP is absolutely massive, combined with the bomb, it forces them out. Gordo's not going to be alive to help in the team, and the Hacks making sure the D.Va can't really push back in with their bomb.
Watch the point.
And they're looking to fight on this. Both rallies being there just to be able to sustain. The pulse bomb going onto the ground. They're not going to be able to find much, but RQT's going to pop that blade going after the rallying break, interestingly enough, and it's still going to work out as he may not get many, but he's going to finish off the long slices.
Yeah, honestly, with Tifa 2 going down early there, that just created a snowball effect. Despite them trading picks, it was that losing the utility of the Somber Hack is definitely a concern. And yeah, Valerie does go down relatively early, but he's probably gonna make a swap here. I wouldn't be surprised. And no, he's staying onto the Tracer, so he just wasted Pulse Bomb, and now they don't have an ultimate to match TIE Fighter's bomb here. So Vespi's getting really low. He gets caught out, unfortunately. And
yeah, look at that. Trigger Happy is going to be found as they continue pushing. Red Knight Vespi immediately shut down, and the control of this map has gone straight over to Rio. It seems that while Fortunate Sons get these advantages, they keep sacrificing them somehow. Yeah,
do you see Gordo with a little bit of BM onto T for 2 there towards the later part. Here comes a bomb though. This is gonna be pretty big. It's gonna find velocity. So
yeah, look at that, looking to just finish off this fight as they're just continuously stagger. Sure, Polar's gonna be using that pulse bomb, but he could have saved that a little more. They've won this fight, and they have completely cleaned up the rest of Fortunate Sons.
They basically have 5 minutes, and now Velocity's just gonna stagger himself even further. So that's just a little bit of icing on the cake for Ultimate Charge if you are the side of Rio Redemption. They now have the Nano Blade, which GLHF, if Emily can hit a clutch sleep, that's going to be really the only way they can counter it consistently. The good news is, though, Vespi does have bomb as well. Here, they're actually using it relatively aggressively, and TIE Fighter does get demeched for it.
That up with the pulse bomb. They're not going to Nano Blade, but rather just flat out Nano. It is going to be stuck and eventually punished as he's not getting much. However, Fortunate Sons they don't recognize that they're just basically letting them respawn a little bit faster.
Yes, that is very true. And now RQT does make the swap over to the McCree. And honestly, I like the Kree better than the Genji. Even with Blade, you can still get shredded if Fortunate Sons does play their cards right. And we are getting a pause call right now as looks like Velocity is lagging out a bit. He is on ping. He is from the UK, and so yeah.
Puny British Wi-Fi, very weak, very low.
Yeah. Hey, imagine imagine losing a war to a bunch of colonies.
Yeah, that happened.
It did happen, yeah. But
yeah, and then you guys colonized me. But either way, my racial jokes aside, as my Hispanic heritage shines bright, this fight coming up next is somewhat interesting because there is one ult cancels out the rest of the ults, and then a bunch of ults that can just ignore one ult and then play the game.
Exactly, and the good news is for Fortune Sons, they do have EMP to engage, which is arguably the best ultimate on this comp right here. I'd say followed closely by Primal Rage, because if he's able to find a good target with the Primal Rage, looks like both teams are ready, so we're going back into the map. If he's able to find a good target with the Primal Rage, he can definitely just isolate it and get a kill. However, they are going to be working with a bit of an ult disadvantage.
Oh, that's this whole 6-man.
That's
There's just nothing they can do. It is just a free fight for the entirety of Fortunate Sons. Gotta feel proud by Tifa. May have not been doing the best on the Sombra, but that EMP was absolutely massive.
Yeah, that 6-man EMP from Tifa. I know Tifa's mom is very proud right now watching that. Honestly, that might turn the tide of this defense, because Fortunate Son is now able to match the Primal and the Rally, so Red Knight's playing really aggressive here, interestingly enough, but they do find RQT in the process, so
that the Rally comes in, but it seems that the entirety of Fortunate Sons are split. The front line are just immediately being shut down. Red Knight is trying to boop someone around and just find a pick, but he's just not being able to, especially with that anti. He's basically being sent for the respawns, and this is time for Rio Redemption to be able to hold this. 3 ultimates and the payload's that close.
Yeah, and the good news is, though, they will have the Rally, and Gordo does prop the Primal. Velocity does get out onto the point, but yeah, no.
Velocity flings out, interestingly enough, and that bomb works somewhat well. It does manage to force everyone out, and they're basically staggered, but there's not much that they can do. Red Knight is trying to make a difference. However, this is just left up for them to have a small stagger and to waste out that timing. It does look like that Fortunate Sons just don't have enough of the resources to be able to survive, especially with that 2k high noon. It seems that Rio Redemption are going to be making themselves a good win condition here.
Yeah, I do not know why Red Knight played that aggressive, especially considering that they were defense. It was an interesting play. Maybe they wanted to try to force out an ultimate, but even then, you can definitely use your abilities to kite away from the ultimate as well. Yeah, Red Knight's just I guess Red Knight just wanted to get that kill in the end desperately. However, it's a lot harder on Winston when there's a Prig literally right next to her, who basically just negates the damage. And maybe he was trying to like Primal Leander or Brig or someone like that. So, and honestly, it was just a questionable decision all around. But it looks like we will be seeing a traditional dive comp coming out from Fortunate Sons here. I bet they're probably not going to do the sim strat where they TP to get their supports up. Never mind, they are. And we will be seeing RQT on the Ashe. This is one of the characters that he's been very dominant on, and in my opinion, one of the characters that makes him an MVP candidate, because his Ashe is just so consistent. He lands huge dynamites, just farms up bobs really, really quick, and he's able just to swing fights all by himself.
But Corbs, here's the issue that I have here. You can't be an MVP candidate if the MVP voting is over.
That's true. I mean, they already have the MVP on their team, but he was an MVP candidate for that Ashe too.
Yeah, this is all about how they want to engage. Tifa makes a good choice by being on to this Echo, because that means you have more room to play, and as well as the burst damage is absolutely insane. But this is back to a scenario of how are they going to try and engage and how to push in. Red Knight's been using that dives a lot aggressively, and look at that, immediately gets booped before he's even able to touch that high ground, and Tifa still goes down so early while Gordo's going into the backline.
Yeah, the tanks are really separated though from Real Redemption. They do find Gordo though in the process, so this is gonna be a huge advantage coming out from Fortunate Sons, and Valhalla finds Polar in the process. So they're honestly, even though Fortunate Sons did get the first pack, Red Knight's gonna go down relatively low here. But
yeah, they still want to bring it out. It seems it's a very long fight, but the sustain is there for Fortunate Sons as they want to be able to take over that high ground. We see as that point's going to continuously be moving, but Fortunate Sons, they still need a bit more, especially that nano coming up.
yeah, for the good news is Emily is gonna get it relatively close, so she just pockets Vespi here for a second. Look at that. She pretty much has it already, and that's going to be a huge engagement tool for Red Knight, as the support line relatively vulnerable. And if I were Rio, especially that last fight, that was going to be the fight to lose there.
Yeah, but it looks like they've swapped the high grounds, and Nana goes in, and Emily is very vulnerable. They've lost a mech to be able to peel in, but Gordo's dangerously low, so he's not able to take out Velocity or Emily. Now, with that Bob being on the point, the rest of Fortunate Sons have a lot of poke that's coming in on them. They can just wait it out as Val's being able to find out RQT, but RQT's Bob's able to find out Val. And now this is a phase where even that Pulse Bomb in the stall just stops them from being able to cap.
Exactly, and the fight that Rio lost earlier, oh, that's a decent pick onto the, but yeah, they're just hard staggering themselves at this point. Vespi is gonna go down low too, and yeah, this is rough for Fortunate Sons as well. And so they have to wait another 15-20 seconds before Vespi is really back into the fight. And so these staggers will add up after a while. And the good news is, though, they do have some ultimates to work with. The bad news is they're going into ultimates that they have to work against. So let's see what decisions Fortunate Sons will make here in order to, I guess you can say, sway their advantage.
Yep, they use that copy. That's absolutely massive. They can build up another bomb, and they use that primal range to go after the supports. We see as their main focus is to just make the supports not be able to push in, but they leave their own supports vulnerable. The rally goes in to protect out Emily, but we see the tanks there. The bomb's on the point. They want to be able to try to push this, but their intention is completely split. And it seems that Fortune Sons can't find a person to focus, especially with that anti shutting down the entirety of their push. Velocity is
very much winnable.
Yeah, they're still trying to win it, especially with their Diva getting that nano. Vespi King has the bomb as they're fighting in the Mega Health Pack Room, but they've lost the majority of their team. And Fortunate Sons, they don't have the faster respawns. They're using that bomb just to be able to come back, and yet they find out TIE Fighter.
Yeah, this is huge for Fortunate Sons as well, because they can very much just, if they find the pick onto RQT here, that would have been huge, but no, he was getting topped off, and now look at that. He's basically going to have a Bob again, and he does go down.
That's a bit unlucky, as we see this point is going to be contested. It's all up to Gordo and Ty using that bomb flat out, all inside the room. The Pulse Bomb able to find out the break, so there's no kill. But the remake kill is absolutely insane. Red Knight's doing his best with the combination of his team, but they're now in overtime. They don't get to reset. RQT's return is massive with this Bob. I think it's a sad thing to say, because it seems that Fortunate Sons don't have the opportunity. One mistake has cost them the entire reverse sweep possibility, as Rio Redemption, they're going to grand finals against Wisdom Academy for the final game of the Novice Division. And really...
Oh, no, that's... That's,
Yeah, well, they're being toxic, so debatably they can get in trouble for that. Let's just ignore it.
Yeah, that's true. We just don't talk about that. Good news is though, Red Knight can kind of smack bat. He doesn't get to play the game. Does shut down RQT's blade, but yeah, it was in my opinion, that map was very one-sided towards the end there. And yeah, so GG's all around, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The question is, who do we bring in for the interview? Real Redemption, they've done fairly well, so the idea is who they want to bring in. Obviously, giving the idea, you can tell who is, but it seems that RQT is the one.
Okay, cool. RQT. Yeah, let's get RQT in here as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's get RQT in here. We are going to be going to a break, so stick around for the interview. We'll be right back.
Intense match, debatable to the eye. This is up for you to decide because we are here with the victor and one of the MVP candidates from before, Mr. RQT. How do you feel after kicking Fortunate Sons out of the grand finals opportunity?
I feel pretty good. I mean, it was kind of a swift victory, so I really don't like feel it that much. Like, it wasn't hard at all, but I feel good. I feel all right. I guess ready. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah, y'all kind of y'all had a few scary moments, but in reality, y'all were just in cruise control pretty much throughout the entire game. One thing I do want to point out though is Eichenwald. The decision to run a far mercy with a Rhine. So what was the thought process behind that?
So like we knew we had less time. Like we needed like a really quick win. So we're like just like screw it, let's go Farah. And it worked out really well. Like we got, I believe, halfway around second. I mean, yeah, it was completely improvised. Like, let's just go Farah because we know they're going to go Brawl, and Farah's good against Brawl.
Mm-hmm.
But our defense got a little scary, but it ultimately came in clutch because Farah is really good in like those overtime situations if no one's focusing her.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Intel?
Yep, that sounds reasonable. Obviously, going into the grand finals, you are going to be fighting Wisdom Academy. Now, the record so far is Wisdom has been beating you guys 2-1. And really, this is your chance to either tie it up and make sure that Rio have made the redemption that they've been longing for, or Wisdom Academy manages to take in that championship and continue on. Really, what is your opinion going forward and your hopes kind of for the grand finals?
Well, first, I just want to say hashtag next MVP. But besides that, we've been practicing a lot, and like we showed a glimpse of it. Like, we've been running a lot of Torb, and that seemed to work like really well. On Ike and especially on Nepal, but it's all Red Knight fed Nepal. But still, like we've been running a lot of Torb, and we've run some other strats I don't want to talk about. But like we've been like, we feel really confident in scrims. So.
That's a good thing to have. Confidence is always key. And Intel, do you have any other questions?
I really don't. Do you?
I do. RQT.
Hmm.
Pineapple on pizza, yeah or nay?
Okay, so it depends. Like just plain pineapple or like a Hawaiian pizza?
Like, I guess you could say a Hawaiian pizza.
Then yes.
I am gonna smack you across the face. Anyways, thank you so much, RQT, for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, and hopefully we can make some magic on Edinburgh Monarchs 2 Electric Boogaloo. All right.
Yep.
See you then.
Yep.
Either way, this is almost the end of the zero. We get closer slowly to the end, but we're not done yet. Because not only does the intermediate division and advanced need to have their playoff opportunities, but Novice still has one more game, Wisdom Academy versus Real Redemption.
Honestly, I was about to say this is the finals game that was bound to happen since the beginning. So, this is gonna be a great game.
Yep, predictions not too far away, and we thank you so much for watching this broadcast. And to those who were interested in the donation, share it around, or even press !donation just to even bring it up for the rest of the people to see. We thank you so much for doing that. If you're interested in League Zero, hit that little heart. You can follow us on Twitter, Discord, join, and stay up to date. Either way, I'm username _Intel. This is Corbs, and we thank you so much for watching.
All right, peace out, y'all.